Hello chess fans, this is Chess to Impress with another impressive position from the history of the game. This position is a mate in 3 moves problem, but not just a mate in 3 moves, because after we went through this we will take a piece off the board and then it's suddenly mate in 4. And then we take another piece off the board and then it's mate in 5. So it's quite a genius construction and genius composition. And let me take you through it. Let's look at the position. All the pieces are on the king side. The A to D files are empty, so everything is happening there. We can see that the black king is cornered, doesn't have a lot of room to maneuver, and also white is material up. White has rook and knight versus the bishop, and both parties have 2 pawns. The only way to achieve mate in 3 is by sacrificing the rook, which is a surprising move. Rook takes g3 is the first move, and the most logical reply is then bishop takes g3. But then we have mate with knight f3, a nice move. It takes the h4 square away from the king, and also it puts black in zugzwang, because he has to make a move and the only piece that can play is the bishop. So for example, bishop takes h2, and then with the g file open, g2, g4 is checkmate, with the knight taking away the square h4 as said. If black does not take the sacrificed rook, so does not take on g3, but for example takes the knight, bishop takes e1, then it's also checkmate in a few moves. Rook h3 check, bishop h4 is the only legal move, and again the same mate move, g4 checkmate. So it's a nice checkmate combination, mate in 3 with the rook sacrifice on the first move. But as I said, this is not all, because we are going to take the knight away from the initial position, and then we say it's mate in 4. So let's have a look at that. So this is the same position but without the knight on e1, and now it is a forced mate in 4 moves. It's not the same key move. Remember, it was bishop, rook takes g3 was the key move in the previous position. That doesn't work now without the knight, so we have to do something else. The key move in this case is h takes g3. And let me show you the variations. If the bishop goes to e1, as you can see, only the bishop can play. Both the pawn on h6 and the king on h5 have no squares to go to. So he has to play the bishop, let's say bishop e1. Then comes rook g4 with the mate threat of rook h4. And the only way to avoid that is to take the pawn, bishop takes g3. But then rook takes bishop, king h4 only legal move, and rook h3 is checkmate. Very nice. If we play the bishop to another square, try to defend it another way, for example bishop e3, then again rook g4 with the mate threat on h4, bishop g5 to cover that, and then there's a different way of checkmating. Rook h4, bishop takes h4 is the only legal move, and there's the g-pawn again, which we also saw in the mate in 3 variation. g4 is checkmate. Again a nice mating combination, and this time mate in 4 with the knight missing. But this is not all. Let's now take away the pawn on h2 from the initial position, and then we have a mate in 5. Let's have a look at it. So the same position without the knight on e1 and the pawn on h2. And let's see how we can now, in 5 moves, checkmate the black king. White has to do it differently this time. The rook has to leave the g-file and go all the way around. Rook b7 is the first move. The idea is to go to b1 and then maybe to h1 and harass the king that way. And there are a few nice variations. Let's look at, I'm going to give you 2 variations and you can figure out the other variations yourself. Once you have seen these, you have seen the main idea, and if you want to look at other moves, then you can figure this out for yourself. Or ask the question in the comments and I'll give you the answer. Bishop g1, let's look at that move. What white plays then is rook b1, continuing with his plan to harass the king from the other side. Let's play bishop h2, because if we play the bishop somewhere else, the rook comes to h1 with checkmate. Rook e1 is a very nice move, and the only purpose of the move is to win some time, which means putting black into zugzwang. King h4, and now not easy to find move, because we were trying to harass the king on the h-file, but now we take a different route. We play king g6 exclamation mark, because we want to checkmate on e4, and there's nothing black can do against that. For example, king g4, rook e4 checkmate. And it's nice to see how the pawn on g2, our little friend, is taking the squares f3 and h3 away from the king, while the white king is covering the squares on the 5th rank. I'll show you one more variation. Let's say after rook b7, the bishop does not go to g1, but for example to e3. Then there's a different way of checkmating. White again goes to the bottom, rook b1, and then bishop g5, rook h1 as planned, and now bishop h4 is the only legal move, and the idea behind this bishop maneuver is for black to try and stalemate himself, but it doesn't work because here is a beautiful move from white. The only solution to from here mate in 2 moves. Rook h2 exclamation mark. Sacrificing the rook again. The only possible answer is g takes h2, and our little friend the g-pawn does the job again. g2, g4, checkmate on the 5th move. Hope you like this series of mates, mate in 3, mate in 4, mate in 5, after taking the knight away from the initial position and then taking a pawn away. Very unusual, this chess composition, and I wanted to share it with you. Hope you liked it. If you did, please subscribe and please give it a thumbs up. This is Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.